Hello, this is Chef Carl.
And I'm Chef Paul.
And we are back with another episode of Ketchup and Hustle.
Love it.
Okay, Paul.
It's good to be back, Carl.
It's been a few weeks.
What do you mean?
It's been a few weeks, and as I look at my calendar, I'm gonna articulate how many days of vacation you had since our last podcast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 15, 16, 8.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I know what you're doing. You're making me look bad for the listening public, and that is not fair.
Our listening audience. Okay, well, just tell the audience so they know, so they see what I'm seeing in the last 2 weeks. How many days were not vacation?
That's a fucked up question you just asked and put me on the spot.
That's incriminating.
But so 2 weeks ago,
how do you rebuttal?
2 weeks ago, I took 3 days and went down to the
down the shore.
No, I did not go down the shore 2 weeks ago. I went to Maryland, the seas of Maryland.
Okay.
Ocean City, Maryland, to be specific, and was there for 3 days. Back in the office Thursday, Friday. And then the following week,
Don't
week...
fatigue yourself.
I won't. I wanted to make sure I was nice balanced that week. Last week was my annual...
I'm seeing
was my annual week down the shore with my family to Sea Isle City, New Jersey.
And we are glad that you did that and are rested. We can hear it in your voice.
I'm feeling rested. I'm feeling...
anxious.
I'm not feeling anxious. I feel like, are you looking at those days wishing...
that I had some support? Fucking right.
Wishing your co-founder was around?
Let me tell you why, Paul.
What happened in those 2 weeks while I was gone, Carl?
Well, major one was last week.
I'd like to hear more about that because I was involved. I wasn't just away and ignoring my phone. I was working all morning every day.
I hear it.
So
do I feel it?
Just to make sure we're sharing truths.
Okay, so here's where we are, folks. Last week, an article was published in Food Business News.
Food Business News, which goes out to?
I have no idea. Apparently a lot of people.
A lot of people in the food industry read and look at this thing, and that has become clear to us.
Maybe we should cut that from the podcast because we should have known about that.
Yes, we're still learning a few things.
Just kidding, Taylor. Keep it. So Food Business News goes out, and all of a sudden, I have the distinct opportunity to become best friends with Angel in fulfillment.
No doubt about it. You guys are rocking and rolling.
Oh, man, we blew up. So many orders came in. So if you guys are listening, thank you for jumping in and supporting Awesome Sauce on our mission to eliminate single-use plastic from the kitchen. However, if you are listening and you sent it to your test kitchen, which is not just one, so we got these orders from some interesting buyers.
Yeah, so the like Carl said, this article goes out and it's going out to people in our industry now. And
it's stealing eyeballs.
And it caught people's attention. And this is what is interesting to me is that this is a new product. Like you could tell that they have never seen anything like this before because they read this article and they come on and they go, "What the fuck is this?"
And truly, I don't know what it was. That made me look at the addresses because I was like, we got all these orders, and I was like,
to dive in a little bit.
I was like, you know what? This is a new clip, so so my goal was it was probably like a 7 o'clock at night on Tuesday or something. Yep. My goal was like, hey, let me get some feedback, and so I just started sending some emails saying, hey, thanks for the purchase, thanks for the support, would love some feedback, like send it when you're ready.
Yep.
I sent some text messages. I sent some emails. And as I'm looking, some of the addresses are like the test kitchen of an ingredient company.
Yep.
Which immediately my stomach, like, oh God.
You're a little scared.
Wait a second. And so.
Yeah, so we had a powder manufacturing company.
Three of them.
A co-manufacturer company. Some companies that own brands, that own different sauce brands, that own different spice brands.
In our industry, the brands were at the table mixing awesome sauce.
It's really cool.
Now, but the question is,
go on. Yep.
The question is, do you fulfill that order? Or do you cancel that motherfucker and say, I see you.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you send them an empty box.
Yeah, so when McCormick's orders awesome sauce to their test kitchen,
What are you doing?
do you send the box?
Put it in the comments. We need to know because we did something. Not sure if it was the move.
Well, so what was the first thing we did?
We asked every one of our advisors.
That's exactly right. So
like, what do we do?
It's exactly right. So when you were faced, if you are lucky enough, and this really felt like, actually, I'll get back to that later. When you were lucky enough to have your competitors or people in your industry start to take notice and order your product, the first thing you do is call your advisors and say, "What the hell do we do with this?
Here's what happened.
Here's what's happening."
And our advisors were like,
they were the best.
Some were like, uh-oh.
No. It was a, hey now, you've caught people's attention. What are you going to do with it?
And but most of them were like, guys, of course.
Yeah.
Like, you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, and that's really where I came out on this, where the truth of the matter is, what, you got something on your phone there?
Oh, a little Baltimore call?
Is that Maryland calling? Maryland?
Yep.
So anyway, the truth of the matter is that
what we did.
No, hold on. The truth of the matter is that when you start a company, and if you're going to go after being a disruptor in an entire category, if your competitors don't know who you are, then you have not made it. And
you haven't done it. Yeah, you are nobody.
This was a moment for me anyway, where I was like, yes, this is a step on our journey that had to happen.
We have not been selling for 3 months, and the biggest players in the game that we're in
are ordering our stuff.
I
love it.
And we wrote the nicest thank you cards.
We did. And then
custom thank you cards because we did not have thank you cards.
That's right.
We had to put stickers on paper.
And we went and friended all these people.
Sent them emails.
We said hello.
One was the president.
We kind of waved. We just waved at him and said, "Hey."
Oh no, it was more of a wave. It was more of a like, "Hey, thank you."
Yeah.
A little fanboy. Okay. Anyway, last episode you took the reins and you drove a little bit.
I did. I wanted to know more about Carl Starkey.
Big Carl. So I'm curious to learn a little bit about bulgogi.
Interesting.
Bulgogi. So people understand, why are you called bulgogi?
Is that where you want to start this interrogation?
I would like the fans to know who Paul Gogi is.
So Paul Gogi Layman, as Carl calls me. No one else calls me that, by the way.
It's catching on.
It's maybe a few now. So we were making...
The reason it's catching on is because I share your contact.
Yeah, you don't stop. Yeah, it's relentless Paul Goginess.
Paul Gogi.
And so in this past fall, we were in conversation with a Korean barbecue joint. And they had asked us to see if we could match their traditional water-based sauce with one of our powder formulations. And
which they had already tried multiple times
to do.
And had failed.
That's right.
And so we came in hot off Sauce HQ, right out of your kitchen.
Right out of my kitchen, and product coming from various different places.
With a plastic spoon.
And... don't you know it, I matched the shit out of that bulgogi sauce.
They didn't know the difference.
They were going back and forth. So we bring our powder.
We show
up to Newark or Trenton or wherever we were. And they bring out their bulgogi, their traditional bulgogi, and then we mixed our powdered bulgogi with water right there in front of them.
We sit at a table in front of a crowd of people, talking,
sipping one spoon, sipping the other spoon, sipping one spoon, sipping the other spoon. And they were like, it's pretty good, fellas.
Well, here's actually an interesting thing. I'm going to add to it, and this is your answer, but I'm going to add to it.
Okay, this is typical, everyone.
Here's something interesting that we had to decide quickly. You know where I'm going with this?
I do.
On the spot. So we're sitting there next to each other in a booth. They're standing, trying the sauces. They sprinkle some MSG in there because they're like, is there MSG? And we're like, no, it's great.
No MSG.
And they're like, oh, well, now there is.
That's the problem.
Yes. So they put it in, and we had to look at each other quickly and be like, do we care about MSG? And we're like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but
my answer was we are not putting MSG in any of the products that are going out to our consumers.
However,
if there's a business to business partner that wants MSG in their sauces, that we would
Then-
listen. That's
Sure.
That's
Like,
a personal preference that restaurant would like to.
which is really interesting because when you build a business
Yep.
and you go after something, which we are going after sustainability,
Correct.
if you try and be everything to everybody, you will be nothing to nobody.
Agreed.
And so in that moment, I felt like it was like, okay, here's where we stand as a business because we were young.
Yeah. We're still young as a company. That moment hit you as like, some sort
That's a
of
core memory.
Yeah, that was not a core memory for me. It doesn't feel all that important. I'm happy to talk on it as we're sitting here. But that is the genesis of Paul Gogi.
Speaking of core memories, thinking about so you had a career before this,
I was an athletic director.
a healthy career
Yes,
in educational administration.
educational administration.
So tell me what that jump is like for you as Paul Lehman. What is that startup leap? What is that like?
That's a really interesting question, and I'm glad that we have 2 hours to sit down and talk about this.
In 45 seconds or less.
In 45 seconds, I had the opportunity in a single moment to look at Awesome Sauce and say, holy shit, there's a business opportunity here that does not rival anything that I have considered before. I have a business partner here that I believe in and am excited to move forward with. And is now the time at the age of, I think I was 39. At the age of 39,
I can confirm that.
is now the time to go after something new and different in this life. And I had held my dream job as an athletic director, and I was staring at something that I thought was an opportunity I couldn't pass up, and I went for it. And that's scary.
Did you think about like you had done that for a long time,
I was in education almost my entire career in some capacity.
and
teaching.
you were old, so it was a long tenure.
39, yeah, it's starting to get ripe.
Right. So
I was a teacher, I was a coach, I was admissions, I was fundraiser, across the board, and then had held the role of AD.
And so when you think about that, the things that go behind Startup World, and you compare it, like what is the most dramatically different thing from, I'm not going to call it a cushy desk job because that's not it, but like a very structured, a very insulated environment to now I'm imposing that we feel like this is an unstructured, uninsulated environment. What is the thing that is like the biggest difference, the biggest turn of a knob?
So the biggest turn, and this is an easy answer for me, the biggest turn for me is in education, you are dealing with kids and families. And those problems that arise when you're dealing with people's most prized possessions, their kids, they're real, heavy, in the moment. Everyone thinks it's the biggest, most concerning issue that they've ever had to deal with.
Every time.
And so that was where a lot of my time and energy was spent on the athletic director side, is understanding that those relationships and the students and the parents always felt like those were the heaviest issues that they were dealing with.
Are you implying that our issues are not real?
No, that's not what I'm implying at all. That's a whole different set of issues and problems that arise, and they do not necessarily go. They aren't directly connected to kids and parents and how much playing time they get, right? I mean, this is a whole different set. Now it's people's money, it's people's it's a product, it's our business. I mean, all of these things that are hugely meaningful, and it's just a nod to the difference between the issues that I dealt with as an AD and the issues that we deal with as entrepreneurs.
Does it feel in some ways like the problems that we have now are theoretical? Like we are solving things that could be, when before you're solving something for one, like it's so specific because it's that athlete or that student, and now you're like this customer group, which theoretically operates this way.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to categorize. I mean, there's a lot of differences between what I was doing and what I am doing. The problem when you are dealing with someone's kids, the problem feels heavy always. It's the only way to describe it. And so,
okay. And so in that journey, in that switch,
yep.
What is the thing that has been the most surprisingly enjoyable about the startup world, where maybe before you're like, oh, this could be tough? What is the thing that you're like, man, I did not think that was going to be this enjoyable?
So being outside of an educational institution for maybe the first time, or not the first time, but for the first meaningful time in my career, has been freeing in a way. I like, as a teacher, as an administrator, and rightfully so, you are very, very, very concerned about what you say, how you say it, how it's perceived, how the listener is taking that in, all of those components. And as a co-founder, I feel like we are able to create our own philosophy. We get to say what we want to say, and there may be repercussions for what we want to say, but we get to say
this podcast.
We get to, if we want to say fuck, we get to say fuck, and that's not something that would be able to happen on the field.
Why is that? Why is that not projected to our Ketchup? Why don't we have fuck Ketchup?
Well, we don't always say that. Okay. So there's a time and a place still. thank goodness. But those lines are much more blurred in the business world than they are in the educational world.
So you think like the things that happen on a day-to-day, they have a shorter lifespan, where on the educational side, something that you might say in one scenario could have a long life and end up coming out in a different way.
Yeah, your words really, really matter in an educational institution, and people are listening, and the kids are impressionable, and the parents care.
Yes.
And so all of that is true on the business side, but when you are not a school, you have much more freedom to express yourself how you want to express yourself. Some of that's with language, some of that's with personality, but that's really, for me, and I found that enjoyable. Like, you've taken the governor, as an administrator, you always have a persona that you have to project. Here, we also have a persona, but it can have much more vitality. It can be much more creative. You can be much more, off the cuff.
But at the same time, it's much less supported. Like, you can feel like,
yeah. We don't have our community yet.
You're close to the edge, all the time.
Yeah.
We're in an administrative environment. It's a little safer.
Yes,
you cannot totally fail because you have
totally. Actually, so this is an interesting thing, because when I was AD and co-director, by the way, shout out to my co-director Michelle Canuso-Bedesim, who's an absolute rock star and running the show at Westtown now as the AD. So Mish and I were co-directors.
Whoop, whoop.
And as co-directors, I felt like I was an entrepreneur. I mean, I really did feel like there was a department that was that we were responsible for growing and taking care of and seeing what potential it could reach. And but if I failed, we lost a couple games, and the school continued to move forward. But
for the last 200 years,
it's a 200-plus-year-old school. We were going to be just fine if we didn't win that soccer championship.
It's okay,
right? And so, but I did truly feel like an entrepreneur, and I think Mish and I operated very much like this was an entrepreneurial opportunity within a department, within an institution. Here, you don't have 220 years of history and an endowment. You don't have that opportunity to fail. Well, the opportunity is there, but you don't have the luxury to fail and keep on.
It only happens once.
It only happens once.
There's no next season.
So, I'm okay with it. Like, again, I feel so confident in our product. I feel so confident in what you and I are doing. What the besides my vacation last week, the effort that we are giving.
I'm confident that you took that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That we will have left everything all out on the table if this doesn't happen to work out. I believe it will, but if it so happens it doesn't, I feel good about what we're doing.
It's interesting you say that. I think that one thing is it is hard to put into words the level of dedication to something.
Yep.
Like when we're pitching, it's hard to say like we are so in this.
Yeah.
Like that.
It doesn't play.
It's a hard thing to say.
Yeah, well, plus it's like table stakes.
Everybody's there. Okay, so I've got two more questions. One,
I'm here for it, Carl.
One is we've talked about your ripe age
Of
39 when you started, and now you're at 41.
I mean,
Yeah, you're at 41 now.
uh-huh.
Oof. So
I love 41.
I am curious.
Yes.
When you look back, was it the right time? Or
Uh-huh.
when you look at a lot of these companies and kids are coming out of college or not finishing college, and we celebrate that, but now you're 41, you've got a career in your back pocket, you've got kids. Like, when is the time to actually make that jump and go for it?
Well, the stupid answer that everyone always says is that there's never a right time, and you just got to go with it. And I hate that answer. There's absolutely a right time, but that time is not relevant with age, right? And so for me, if there was a brilliant idea that solved one of the world's problems, and that came to me at the age of 22, and I looked around and either I was equipped to handle it myself or I had a partner to go get it with, that's the fucking right time, right? And at 41 or at 39, I guess, when this opportunity was staring us in the face, staring down the barrel of
an idea.
You kind of say, you do that same assessment. And I guess my point is, if at all possible, take age and your current status out of the equation. Are you able to, do you think this is a good idea? Do you have the partner in place to go after it?
Do you have the energy?
And do you have the energy? And if those answers are yes, then go for it.
Which is super interesting. It is my theory that a lot of ideas live in a graveyard because of that decision.
Yeah.
They look at that and they're like, I'm too old. I can't.
Yeah. Well, or it's stuck. Like, change is hard. I mean, I talk about this a lot, but kind of on a personal level. Change is super, super difficult, and not a lot of people are willing to take on change, just period. And so you immediately put, 50% in the graveyard. Then you add age, put another 25% in the graveyard, and then you're staring at,
a quarter left.
A quarter left of the people who might have a good idea who are willing to go after or not. And so,
and then you got to dissect that into, like, did they do it the right way? Did they get the capital they needed? Was it the time in the market right?
Do they have the personal finances to go after something risky? Do they not have that?
So now you're getting in the under 10% that actually go and do it.
Or less.
And Paul, we have to reflect. We've been doing this for a year.
Yeah, we've been doing this for a year now. We can't hide that fact anymore.
But that is unbelievable. We haven't failed yet.
No, we're still alive. We're still alive.
And our big players are taking notice.
And
Throw
now,
that back out there.
That's right.
Okay, let's leave them. Thank you guys for going on this journey with us. Let's leave them with one last Paul insight.
Paul Gogi insight?
Paul Gogi. Paul Gogi, you are facing Goliath. You've got to go in the ring with Goliath. You got to go. What are you taking on that meeting?
I am taking my co-founder. That's what I'm taking.
That is the stupidest thing you've ever said. Because I'm running. I see you later, man. There's got to be an exit.
That's bullshit, Carl.
No, fucking right. I'd go.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you go that way. I'm going this way.
Yeah. You know me. I am a
professional co.
I'm a professional co. And so there's no doubt that I always believe I am stronger with my partner by my side.
Fucking hell, love that.
Yeah. So there's nothing. If you ask me, the first thing that I'm thinking of to make sure that when I'm going to face Goliath, what do I have by my side? It's my co-founder. And
appreciate that.
I feel pretty strongly about that. I mean, what am I going to say? Computer,
slingshot.
A slingshot. Like that. All of that stuff is irrelevant. How you and I work together is the key to our success.
Absolutely.
And it will be the key to our success. And so, thanks for helping me go after Goliath there, big buddy.
Yeah. Thank you. And for those listening, thank you for the time. Keep on our journey as Goliath just came knocking on our door last week.
We welcome them.
And we are now going after it. So please hit the, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, hit the QR code for a free sample. Otherwise, find us on LinkedIn, find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, and always awesomesauce.co.
Peace.